So, hello guys, welcome to Soul Seed, the show which is dedicated to taking you to new levels of you. This is your host, Kayla Rose, and happy to be here with you guys as usual on a Monday. I hope you guys have had a fantastic start to your week. So, I already said before that I've got a special guest in the studio with me today. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Help! I'm stuck in the studio. My name's George Shaft. I do like the Monday, well, every day breakfast show, and I also do a competitive podcast with Kayla Rose. But I've been dragged into the studio to do this as well.
Wow!
Help!
He says that he's been dragged and stuck in the studio. Well, hopefully he might enjoy it a little bit more than he thinks, and hopefully you guys will as well. So I've already told you guys we're going to be doing the second part of the Bridging the Gap series, and we're going to be speaking about open relationships today. But in fact, before I get onto that, guys, I wanted to show you guys, as I was on my way here, I brought myself a pretty flower. You know those, people who sometimes stand on the corner at the traffic lights and things, and he was selling these beautiful roses. So I thought, hey, I'm going to treat myself to one.
Kayla Rose got a rose, in other words.
Yes, exactly. And I feel really happy about it. You guys may remember, if you had an opportunity to catch me on yesterday's Facebook Live, George, I spoke about top 10 tips on how to build low self-esteem. And one of my tips was sweep yourself off your feet. So I'm doing that right now.
All right. Okay, I am now officially sitting on the chair with my feet off the ground.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's not doing that much for my self-esteem at the moment, but it is doing a whole of a lot of, like exercise, like for my glutes. Like maybe I should just do this.
And legs, yeah, those hamstrings.
Like, yeah, just like.
And those quads.
Got to do those. Got to do those exercises.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know. Maybe the self-esteem part will start kicking in later. Let me know how it goes.
Maybe that's how it is. Like you sweep yourself off your feet on the chair, and Like 6 months later, you're walking down the street and you're just like, you've got the beach bod, you're all ready, and it's like, yeah.
Exactly.
Good thing I swept myself off my feet there.
And it's kind of...
Now stronger than ever.
Yeah, it's not too hard to do it because we've got the chairs that spin around. So it's easy to pick your feet up and sweep yourself off your feet.
Well, on one hand, but on the other hand, like, they move. So it makes it kind of hard because you're like, it's like deep breaths.
Exactly. Well, we're also going to be doing the podcast afterwards as well. So we probably get more into, George and Kayla banter. So I think you guys should stay for that as well. In fact, so guys, to start with, I wanted to give you guys some quotes. You guys know that I do my quotes, right? So I've got some quotes that I wanted to read to you guys. And I'm just trying to find that here. Go on, George. Help me out. Say something to the listeners.
Something.
Nah. Just something.
Nah, but in terms of quotes, there's been... This is typical. Like, I had a couple like, oh, this would be a really cool thing to say, but then just blanking.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Okay, I've got them for you guys now. So I'm going to do 2 today. I'm going to spoil you guys, and I'm going to give you 2. The first quote we're going to have is, I don't believe in open relationships. If you want to be with someone else, you shouldn't be in a relationship in the first place. And that was by Pixie Locks, if you guys know who that is.
I don't, personally, so go for it. Who is Pixie Locks?
She's like a pop artist. She's got a couple well-known tracks. I can't think of them off the top of my head right now.
I was just about to say, like, if you listed some of the individual songs or like bands, I'll probably know. But
yeah, I think you probably would have heard her song before, but you might not be familiar with the name. But that's what she said. And then the other quote I decided to go for was, a true relationship is when you can tell each other anything and everything. No secrets and no lies. And that's by a man called Josh Ray.
Okay.
So those are the 2 quotes of today and for this live, this studio talk. So as I said, guys, there's a lot of topics within our society, I believe, that are seen as taboo subjects to talk about. And I mentioned this yesterday, that if we're going to move forward and progress as a society, and on individual levels as well, that we need to start having open and honest discussions. So just to catch you up, George, so the first part of the Bridging the Gap series, I spoke about cheating and adultery.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly, which is basically the number one reason as to why relationships and marriages break down.
Yeah, and I'd be surprised if it was anything else.
Really?
Yeah, because not only is it because, it's seen by most people as a bit of a deal breaker, is your partner's running off and having relationships with other people.
Yes.
But then there's also the fact that, just to be blunt, most people generally hold on to their relationships until that point comes round.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a pretty mature couple that goes together and goes like, hey, so, I'm not really feeling it, like, you were cool like 2 years ago, but now not anymore. That kind of, those sorts of, like, but most people don't have those discussions at all. They don't think of like, oh, how do I make, change behaviors to either, make it interesting or to keep the flame alive, and that's of course the thing that the really successful couples have, all those endless streams of really adorable 90-year-olds who are still together since the 50s. But like what most people or a lot of people end up doing is, I'm in a marriage which I'm not happy with, and the kids have all grown up, and like my partner's old and wrinkly, but oh hey, here's somebody else who's like up for a fling with me. All right.
Yeah.
And then disaster ensues.
Yeah.
So
pretty much.
So that's why I would be absolutely surprised if it was anything else.
Yeah.
That was the number one cause of sort of relationships and even marriages also falling apart.
Of course. There's a few things that came up from what you just said. The first one was, I can just imagine what you would be like breaking up with someone. That's so funny. So you'd be like, yeah, I'm really sorry. You were cool maybe like 3 years ago. Now there's some other cool stuff, some other cool people, some other things I need to do. So that's how George will probably break up with someone. And then also what you said, but in all honesty, what you're saying about to have that conversation in a mature manner is in fact a very mature thing to do. To sit down with someone else and really be honest about how you're feeling. If you guys do need to part ways before infidelity and cheating and adultery gets involved, if you guys are able to sit down and have that conversation. And I would say for me personally, in those circumstances, that is someone who I could continue to be friends with.
Yes.
If you can part ways in that kind of amicable manner with respect and honesty, then that's someone that I continue to have maybe a different type of relationship with that person. It might not be romantic anymore, but those qualities of that person to be able to address you in that way shows, as I said, that they've got respect for you, that they've got integrity, that they've got character. But on the other side of things, that's where I think everything is lost. Not only is the relationship lost, but the friendship that you share together and so many other things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, completely.
Yeah.
There's been many a couple which, one partner stepped forward to try and have that discussion, and, fast forward 15 minutes later and it's just a massive shouting match, and maybe there's like a sofa cushion being thrown across the room.
Yeah, and police being called and stuff.
Well, I mean, that's still many a couple, so that still counts.
We have spoken about
it's
abuse before, so these are real things that we are discussing today. So the norm seems to be monogamy. That is the ideal that is propagated within our society, is that you're supposed to aspire to potentially get married one day, or at least be in a long-term relationship with someone, have a child, maybe two, a dog, a cat, and possibly a white picket fence. And I always say, whatever this ideal standard which society says that people should conform to, it doesn't work for everyone. It may work for you, and if it does, then that's fantastic. If you feel like you're living your truth and you're being honest with yourself and you are honoring what you truly desire. But if it doesn't work for you, then that's why we're having this discussion today, so we can put other things on the table and let people know what the options are.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is a one model of living that has been passed down through the ages, through a vast combination of things that would solidly qualify as a tangent.
Yeah.
But throughout that time, that absolutely hasn't been everyone.
Yeah.
And lots of people don't feel that way.
Of course.
And until very recently, the response to that was, too bad for you. But I like to think that we can go do a bit better than that nowadays.
Yeah, totally. And as I said, from looking at the statistics that infidelity is the number one reason for relationship breakdowns, it's clearly telling us that this is an issue within our society. And I personally, and I think a lot of people out there, want to have healthy relationships in their lives, and possibly an open relationship may be one of the solutions to addressing this problem. So, George, what do you think about monogamous relationships? Do you think that is the ideal, or do you think that the alternatives are, feasible, they are real options, or do you think the ideal is monogamous relationships?
Well, you see, there's multiple things now I have in mind to say. The first one is, I'm going to say it's the first one that came to mind immediately, was when you were saying infidelity is, the fact that there's so much infidelity is obviously a sign of society being kind of, in having problems. But I had the thought of, but only if you choose to see it that way, surely. It's like, if you are somebody who does believe very much in the idea of, open relationships is the natural way. And, there is a sizable subset of people who do think that way and do have this attitude. It's like, no, in fact, open relationships and communal, marriage, that sort of thing is in fact the baseline, the normal standard of humans. And so, infidelity in, industrial civilization is just an expression of that natural instinct kind of emerging out.
Yeah.
And so, for somebody with that point of view, they wouldn't see a problem with that almost.
Yeah.
With a society of a lot of infidelity, they'd expect it. They'd go you couldn't possibly. They'd say something like, you can't possibly build a society that's not going to have a lot of it going on.
Yes.
It's like a base instinct, that sort of thing.
You see, the reason why I don't agree with that view is that I want to make it clear, make the distinction that there is a difference between open relationships and cheating. Now, we're going to get into this more. You can cheat in an open relationship. The thing with cheating is that is something that is done without your partner's knowledge or awareness or agreement or approval. So with cheating, the reason why I'm personally so adverse to it is because it's associated with lies, it's associated with deception and things of that nature, which is, it's not so much the act of cheating, the fact that you went and had sexual intercourse with someone else, it's the other things with it that bother me so much.
And that was exactly the second thing I had in mind.
Oh, really?
Was the fact that yes, as almost like a rebuttal to that hypothetical person.
Yes. Was
actually to go, yes, but there is this element of trust, which they would not be taking into account.
Yes, totally.
No. I say hypothetical person, but there's a lot of people who actually do think that way. So,
yeah.
But anyway, it's like,
people out there,
yeah. But you're completely right that there is an extra element in it, though, in terms of adultery as we understand it and how most people think of when they think of the word, involves a layer of lying, of cheating, of hiding,
betrayal.
Betrayal.
Yes.
And that is a fundamentally different thing from, I went to bed with somebody else for one night and it was great fun, that kind of thing. Yeah. It's I went to bed with somebody else for a night, when my partner thought I was on a business trip. And also,
exactly.
And also, my partner's feeling a bit annoyed with having 2 kids in their house, and the kids are expecting me to be the model father in this case, that kind of thing. And also, I've been lying to the partner for 6 months, telling her that I'm on my phone a lot for reasons that aren't texting the person I went to bed with. There's so on and so on, just layer upon layer upon layer of these, of misdeeds for things like that.
Yeah, completely.
And so, from that point of view, yes, I would say that's a lot of infidelity does suggest something of some nature that isn't right with the society as a whole.
Definitely. I am really enjoying this conversation. I hope you guys are too. We're already at the end of the first segment. So we're going to go on a short break, guys, and we will be back in 2 minutes. So please don't go anywhere.
Relax Radio. Whoa, Relax Radio. আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com. RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay. Relax Radio.
So welcome back, guys. You've got me and George live in the studio.
Hello.
So today we are speaking about open relationships. So just before the break, we was basically talking about how infidelity is a sign that something is amiss in our society. And I would say that it really goes into, just in general, because of our ideals which are, you know, perpetrated by the media and things like that, our values and things of that nature, that there's a lack of integrity within our society. What do you think about that?
Well, that's exactly what we just said in the last segment, and like I have nothing to disagree with. Like,
okay, that's
like
great.
it's like, you know, I'm being the stenographer here.
Yeah.
I've got the glasses already. You know, I've got like the typewriter, because I imagine, like, you know, some 20th century like courtroom drama.
Yeah.
It's like, stenographer, what did we say? It's like, nope, Kayla's right, actually. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly. Thank you so
and
much.
it's like the big moment in the court. It's like, oh no.
Yes.
But anyway,
the things that we, you know, put value on in our society in general are usually materialistic things, vanity, materialistic financial things. So you can both of those there, and you know, our society. I've spoken about this with you guys before. How our society is highly sexualized,
Yes.
and especially things such as social media. I think this all plays a big role as to why we have such an infidelity issue within our society.
how much? The first thing I'm immediately struck with that, you know, when you're saying that, is to question, like, how much of an infidelity problem is there actually, and how does it compare to sort of like historical times? Because like, no, it's a popular sort of talking point, especially, you know, like really socially conservative politicians, to go like, oh, you know, the horror. There's so much like cheating and There's so much like, you know, unfaithfulness, but like they never back it up with any numbers.
Yeah.
And then you look at, when you do look, you find, oh look, and here's a politician in the 1980s saying the same thing, and here's a politician in the 1950s saying the same thing, and oh, here's a politician in 1900 saying the same thing. Oh, here's
a trend,
oh,
isn't it?
it's like, oh, here's a speech by, you know, Lord such and such in Parliament in 1786 saying the exact same thing. It's like, so when you're saying that, like, I immediately have like a skepticism like note
Well, with
put there.
relationships, it's going to be harder to get accurate statistics because people get into relationships and out of relationships on a regular basis, and we don't usually go to someone or do a census about it. But with marriage now, when we talk about marriage and divorce, I believe the numbers are around at least 60%. So 60% for infidelity. And
So you're saying it's like 60% of all divorces are caused by infidelity.
yeah, that they put down those reasons as to why the marriage broke down. But that's from memory, guys, so don't quote me on that, and I will double check that point for you and maybe write in the comments if I need to.
The thing which, when it comes to the marriage stats, which I will preemptively jump in
Yes.
to sort of, you know, not let that sort of talking point take root, because it sometimes does, is that often sort of like these conservative types,
Yes.
they will say something along the lines of, oh, but there are more divorces, you know, that sort of thing.
Yes.
And no, for this case, they'd probably say like, you know, there are more divorces, and, you know, 60% of them are caused by infidelity. Therefore, you know, there is more infidelity in society.
Yes.
But that's because divorce as a whole is higher up, and the main reason for that is because it's become easier to do so. And there's quite a bit of evidence to suggest that, you know, a lot of relationships that would have ended in a divorce nowadays didn't in the past because of the massive social stigma.
Oh, completely. I was going to mention that point as well. The difference between the generations, although I would caveat that and say that I have worked on a few divorce cases myself, and I don't think it's I don't think that is easy. I think it's so important to try and make the right decision about who you marry before you get into it. But that's just my 2 cents in there.
Well, that's some aggressively sane advice.
I do try. So, in fact, right, we're talking about open relationships. So that is an umbrella term that includes anything that's non-monogamous. So that could be various other types of relationships. It basically means anything else that isn't a monogamous relationship. But I wanted to differentiate it with, and this word trips me up, so I'm going to try and get it right, polyamory. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did. Well done.
I just pat myself on the back. So, yeah, polyamory.
I'd pat Kayla Rose on the back, but social distancing is a thing, so...
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, the government's telling me not to, and I look at John Hopkins and see, like, yeah, they've got a point. Anyway.
I appreciate the thought, though,
Yeah.
George. I appreciate
Tangents aside.
Yes. So yeah, polyamory. So that is where you are allowed to have other emotional, loving relationships with other people. And so with open relationships, it's not necessarily that you are going to have emotional connections with other people, but you are going to definitely be having sexual relationships with other people outside of your primary relationship. So yeah, I just wanted to give those definitions terms to the listeners.
All right. So to give the listener then like practical differences. So like run me through like 2 hypothetical kind of like relationship scenarios.
Okay.
That are these 2 to illustrate the differences.
So what immediately comes to mind, say you have 2 long-term partners. One partner you may have been with for 7 years, and then you guys decided, okay, you was monogamous at first. After 2 years, you decided that you wanted to do a polyamorous type relationship, and then you got involved in another full relationship with someone else, and then you've been with that person for 5 years, for example. So basically you are in, if you can see it like this, 2 committed relationships with 2 different people at the same time. In a more open relationship type scenario, so you would have, keeping it with the first relationship of the 7 years. So you've been with that person for 2 years, and then afterwards, at that point, you decide we want to have an open relationship. So you go out and start to see maybe someone else once a week, and you have, whatever you guys do. You guys do whatever you guys do on that level, but then you return to your primary partner. And of course, there's different differentiations
Well, yeah.
of it.
And there's going to be, of course, that's the sort of thing where there's going to be a bit of a sliding scale and a grey zone in the middle where it's like that. This could be one or the other, but yeah, but that's a pretty good sort of like the explanation you've given there, of like the differences between the two in the broadest sense of the word.
Yeah, and of course, as I said, the couples can agree whatever rules that they feel comfortable with. It may be that I don't want you to date anyone else, but I'm okay with you to have sexual intercourse with someone. Or it could be you're not allowed to speak to that person on the phone, you're only allowed to message, or whatever the rules are for that particular couple. It comes in all kind of shapes and sizes, really.
Yes.
Yeah. So do you think open relationships really is a viable option to address this infidelity issue and cheating? So say an example like the examples that I just gave you.
To be honest, I would say yes, but not in the sense of, it's a cure for the infidelity issue,
Yes.
which I'm still not entirely convinced that there's some historically unusual, massive, pervasive issue in that. But what I would say though is that it is good from the point of view of it's allowing people to do what they want.
Yeah.
And I don't really see where there is sort of societal harm in allowing these sorts of relationships to take place.
Yeah, I absolutely love that point about how it doesn't address the infidelity issue, because the infidelity issue at the root of it is the lack of integrity, is the lack of character, and having an open relationship isn't going to address those character flaws within someone. So you could be, as I said, you can be in an open relationship and that person could still technically, quote unquote, cheat. So say if you're in one of these type of relationships and then your agreement is, okay, you're not allowed to speak to the person on the phone and you're not allowed to go on dates with the person. You're only allowed to text message when you guys want to meet up and do what you do. And then the person does start talking to the person on the phone and that person does start dating that person. That lack of character is why that person would engage in infidelity in the first place.
Yes.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do see what you mean with that.
Yeah. So I think that's just that point. I think it's pretty much bang on.
In which case, though, the thing I do wonder then is, why would you then consider, if you will, as these two as related questions almost? It's like, you're almost going like, oh, we need to, I don't know, as like an example, like, oh, we need to make sure that cars are safer to stop going to war all the time. It's like, you could possibly draw some tangents somewhere, but on the whole, this is, you're talking about two different questions. Like,
yeah, so
like on the one hand, on the one hand, you're saying, oh, is open relationship an answer to the infidelity problem? But then you also acknowledge at the same time that the problem with infidelity is the fact isn't the act itself, it's the cheating, the lies. and and that is a problem that is still there in open relationships.
Yeah.
So you're basically taking two sort of disconnected concepts and sort of tying them together. That's what it seems like to me at the moment.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's why we're having the discussion today, to talk about the different facets to this topic and to see where it leads us. So, in fact, I wanted to give you guys an example as well. Should I do that now or should I do that after the break? Because, guys, I think we're almost halfway through. Can you believe it? See, time flies when you're having fun. So I'm going to keep you guys in suspense, and I'm going to expect you guys and hope that you guys will be there when we get back after this short break. So please stay tuned.
Relax Radio. Whoa, Relax Radio. আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, yeah, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaksmedia.com. RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay. Relax Radio.
Hey, beautiful people, welcome back to the third part of Soul Seed, the show which is dedicated to taking you to new levels of you. And today we are discussing bridging the gap, open relationships.
For the purposes of clarification, the ugly people are also being said hello to. You are also welcome to listen to the show.
How come she said that? Well, because of this open relationship thing.
I guess so, yeah.
Oh, okay. That tickles me.
You know, you came in there, you said hello, beautiful people. It's like, you know.
Oh yes.
I have the mental image of, you know, somebody like looking in a mirror
And saying,
and
I
they're
can't
and
listen.
they're really not so good looking, and it's like and it's almost like, oh no, don't worry, you can listen too. I
Yeah.
say hello to you too.
Yeah, we say hello to all of you out there. So just before the break, I was going to give you guys just someone that I had done some research on when I was doing this topic, and also before actually. And his name is Mr. Lucario. I believe he's got his YouTube channel is called Lucario Fan, and he's a massive advocate of open relationships and open marriages. I believe that he's married and he has been for several years now, and him and his wife have an open marriage, so he's allowed to sleep with whoever he wants to, and she is also allowed to have sex with whoever she wants to, but they are only in a emotional relationship with each other. And another point I would mention is that I have to represent the views of what I would call the man-dem. And the guys that I've spoken to often say to me, there is no way that I would ever be in an open relationship. And I usually think that it comes from, it's partially some ego. Even though I do understand, is that there's a lot of men out there who just couldn't stomach their woman having sex with someone else and then coming back and having sex with them. What do you think about that point?
I think, in my experience, it's actually been a sense that's been much stronger, actually, with women. Like,
Really?
I don't think... I'm trying to think, like, because I have had, like... Now, I talk about these things just, like, randomly. And I can think of maybe 2 women who I've ever, spoken about this to, who were okay with the idea. It's like, I don't think I've... And all of these... And both of them were very, very, very sort of free love types. They do what they want, nothing's going to hold me back type of people. Yeah. It's like, no, I don't think I've ever met a woman, who would be, what you consider like within like the norm of like behavior within our society, who would even contemplate an open relationship. It's like the biggest red line. It's just like an instinctive absolute no. Yeah. So, the fact that you're saying like, oh, men, they have this ego idea. Yeah. And so on. And it's like, honestly, like from when I talk to men about it, like, I know this may be a bit immature, but it's like, I know a handful who are just like, oh, now they imagine it as like, oh yeah, and then I get to like, sleep with everyone kind of thing. Yeah. Which is immature, but it's like, it's still an opinion people have.
Yes.
But among women, it's very fierce opposition from my experience. Mm-hmm. So.
I do also think there are many women out there who would be against it. And yet again, I would highlight the point of generational differences, because say if I was to bring this question to my grandma, there's no point even bringing this question to her. She'd be like, get out of my face. but even in my experience, so like even if you brought it to like one of those kids who just got their A-levels, messed up, and asked them about it. Yeah. The vast majority of girls in that sort of category, in my experience, would also be fiercely against it. That's been my experience anyway. I think there would be a lot of them against it, but I would probably go for a more 50-50 split. I would probably go for a 50, but we might do, I don't know, I might do a poll, I might do a survey, who knows, and get some more.
Well, there's maybe one caveat I should think maybe saying it like that is not so much opposition to the idea of it, in like within society as a whole, but it's fierce opposition to the idea of like that they themselves would be in it. That's probably a big caveat to point out.
Yeah, totally.
Because there's probably quite a few. In fact, I do know of a few who are like of the general idea of like, oh yeah, in society, that should be allowed, but but like for myself, no, hell no.
Yeah, yes, exactly. I think that's another good point as well. And I just wanted to give my, personal preference for myself. So I would prefer to be in a monogamous relationship. I do believe in the traditional family unit, of course, so a mother, a father, child kind of situation, because I do really feel that the feminine energy and that masculine energy together bring so much value and significance to the life of that child to grow up and to become a healthy, functioning adult within our society. But I'm also one of those people or those females that you just described, in the sense that I definitely think it should be within people's right to be able to have whatever kind of family structure or relationship structure.
Basically you have a stance of, if people want it, they can, but not for me. Yeah. Which is basically the overwhelming consensus among women I've spoken to. Yeah. Well, fair enough. I can't fault that argument myself. Personally, I'm a bit kind of like, in the right circumstances, I'd be open to it and see to experiment.
Yeah.
But then again, like, I'm the kind of guy who has prawn and chocolate sandwiches and tries, just to experiment and try out. So it's probably in that category too. It's like, just to try it out, see what happens.
Yeah.
And then like, if 3 years later it's been a catastrophe, I sit here and go like, yeah, so it was a disaster, but I'm glad I did it, kind of thing.
There's so many points, but the most important one was you eat what? You eat prawn and chocolate sandwiches? So that's
it's a surprisingly good combination for you, Dare.
Really? Wow. I don't know.
As I said, I am the kind of guy though who does just like time to experiment.
Okay. I do feel you. I do have that scientist within me as well, that experimentational nature, if that is a word. Is that a word? Experimentational?
Yeah. All right.
It's not, I just made it one.
All right. I feel like now's the time to really, really throw it out, because we've escalated to this point. During the break, I mentioned to Kayla that I do have one bit of a haymaker in this sort of field, which is that, yes, I feel that sort of, open relationships should be something that you should be able to do in society, and if that's what works for you, then that should be, that's do your thing, be happy, have a great time. But I think that there should be absolutely no state recognition, and I also think that polygamy, marriages with multiple people, should remain banned.
Oh wow. Okay, so there's a couple different points to that. So they shouldn't have any legal recognition, and that marriages should be banned.
Yeah. Between like multiple people, because and the marriage one in particular is the one I feel more strongly about. Okay. Because there are actually a good deal of countries that do have polygamy out there.
Yeah.
And it always translates to becoming one situation, and that becomes a situation of one man married to multiple women, and it also always ends up a scenario of one rich man having a large harem of many women, and an underclass of poor, ugly men who feel like they have no stake in society and destabilize it as a result.
Wow.
And in fact, it so strongly that polygamy actually correlates fairly strong. Now, whether a country has it or not, actually correlates fairly strongly with whether that country is at war with itself or not.
Oh wow, civil war, yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
If you look at the list of countries that have a civil war going on in there, it's they are pretty much all of them are pretty polygamous.
Wow, I think that's a very interesting connection, and it really highlights to me is that nothing happens in isolation, guys. I say everything is connected to everything. Different things happen in our lives, different situations, different symptoms or problems come up in our society, and we see them as these isolated incidences, but everything has an effect on everything else. And I think that's a very important point to think about there. In terms of what you said, I would disagree with you on the point is I do believe that some of these open relationships or these non-monogamous relationships could have legal recognition, but I am against marriage outside of the traditional man and woman. But I think what should be available to these non-monogamous relationships are civil partnerships, like it is for homosexual relationships and other things like that. So I think they can have civil partnerships, but I don't think they should have the institution of marriage available to them.
Well, when it comes to sort of the homosexual relationship aspect, I'm a big supporter of gay marriage. I think that if you want to marry someone of the same sex, go ahead, full support.
As long as
they're the only one, yeah.
As long as
they're the only one.
Okay, yeah.
In terms of the legal recognition, there is one caveat that I would definitely have to admit. With my sort of constellation of stances, there would have to be, on some level, the legal recognition when it comes to practicalities such as, children and who owns what. Yeah. In kind of divorce, but not a divorce because it's an open relationship.
Yeah.
That in those sorts of circumstances, yes, there would have to be some level of a legal acknowledgement that it exists.
Yeah.
But that's it. The stance I think of maybe the best, to my mind, to compare it is, the government attitude should be something akin to like how we consider, like cigarettes or alcohol. Like, yes, you can if you really, really want to, but discouraged. And also, we're gonna definitely ban you if you want to do funky stuff with it.
Yeah, or they'll fine you in some kind of way and make them expensive. But yeah, as I said, I do think these are very interesting points that we are touching on here. But I can imagine a situation. The reason why I'm in support of legal recognition is that I can imagine a situation where, say, there may have been an open relationship or something of that nature, and maybe they'd ended up, I don't know, somehow they've ended up cohabiting together or something like that. Do you see what I mean? And it's maybe gone on for a long period of time. So that each of these people have been investing into the property and doing different things, decorating and buying furniture and things, and then someone is deceased by an accident or something like that, and all the years that you've spent being with these people, that person, and of course, making not just that financial investment, but also that emotional investment in a way as well, is that, and then it comes down, you've got no legal recognition, you've got no rights in law for that time that you may have spent with that person. Do you see what I mean? It sounds a little bit more polyamorous, but I'm just kind of relating it to open relationships.
Well, personally, though, the thing that I'm hearing you describe here sounds a lot like a commune, and it's like we know how to deal with those. Like they're a thing, and they've been a thing for a while. Where like groups of people all decide, we all live in the same building, and we all like grow crops in our gardens, that kind of thing, and have everything owned in common. And so I'm not really seeing the difference between that and a commune, pretty much. And it's like we know how to like navigate the legalities of a commune. So where's the difference?
I think that's the point. Obviously, clearly the difference between that situation is that one's going to be an intimate relationship and one's going to be, I guess, more formal, or people with maybe a similar belief system or something along those lines. So the nature of the relationship is completely different. So I think that's where there's a massive difference there. But maybe in terms of the legalities of it, there may be a lot of similarities. But at the end of the day, I think that this is something which would possibly and definitely probably should be discussed by our politicians and our lawmakers in the Houses of Parliament and things like that, in order to really do the research and get in depth about possible differences or changes that may be needed to be made to the law to accommodate these other types of relationships.
Well, I'm not really seeing why there would have to be a massive sort of change and accommodation. Like a lot of sort of Maoist communes in the north of London already do have, alongside having all their property in common and, all of the 9 yards with that, also have relationships with each other.
Yeah.
It often sort of polyamorous relationships.
Yeah.
So we already do have that framework to deal with your hypothetical scenario. And it's in a way that, avoids what I really don't want to see. So I'm not really seeing, in that particular narrow scenario, why there really has to be a change.
Yeah, and I completely see what you're saying. That's what I'm saying. That's the whole point. So one person may say that there's no need for there to be a change. Another person may say that we need there to be further discussions and to look into it deeper. But that's the whole point of the conversation, is bringing different opinions to the table. And in terms of the communes, obviously I'm in the legal field. I do some things in the legal industry. I'm not very familiar with communes, actually. I didn't know that they were that popular in the UK.
Oh no, they're not that popular.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be that popular. They just have One of my specific claim was that they exist and that we know of them.
Yeah.
And that they've been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of popularity, now they're pretty few and far between, definitely. Like, I know of one commune in Deptford,
Okay.
and that's the only one I've ever encountered in my entire time. I'm vaguely aware that North London is famous for having, like, a handful,
Okay.
but, it only takes a handful,
Mm-hmm.
for the state to then go, all right, well, let's clarify the law a bit before, something disastrous happens, or, more commonly, something disastrous does happen, and then it gets dragged through the courts for 5 years before it's like, a judge goes, right, well, here are the ground rules now to prevent that nightmare again.
Yes, I do hear you, George. Guys, we slightly ran over there, but we are at the end of the third segment, the third part of the show. So we are going to go on our final break, and then we will be back with you in about 2. So stay where you are.
Relax Radio. Oh, Relax Radio. আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist, or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaksmedia.com. RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay. Relax Radio.
Welcome back, guys, to the final part of the show today. So we've been speaking about open relationships. That's been the topic of the hour, and I just wanted to add in there about my personal preferences. So my preference, I've said, is monogamy, but I'm not 100% against open relationships. It would really depend on my partner and really having that honest, open discussion if it was something that would improve the relationship or it was a desire of my partner. As I said, I'm much more agreeable with the whole open relationship than someone, as I said, doing something behind my back.
And meanwhile, I've come out to say that I support it that being allowed. I've said that even I myself would be open to such a relationship in the right circumstances, but I am very, very against it being recognized in marriage, and very, very against or wanted to have as little sort of legal recognition as possible.
Yes, I completely hear what you're saying. And something else that came up for me as well is that as we deviate from more traditional family structures, I definitely believe that our young people, the next generation coming up, do suffer a detrimental impact from not having a mother and a father figure there. I think the two energies, the two sexes play such an important role. And I'm going to be speaking about this. In fact, I think I'm going to call this show that I've got in mind Daddy Issues. And I really want to speak about it in terms of how the lack of stable and consistent fathers affect men, but also on how it affects women as well. So I think that's an important topic.
As with many things that you say, I have two things in mind at the same time. The first one I'm going to bring up is to say, what's there to prove that sort of most kind of non-traditional sort of family structures are detrimental? It's like, for example, a gay couple that's adopted a child.
Yes.
Where is the proof that such a relationship, while completely non-traditional, is having adverse effects on the children? That's my first thought. My second thought was, there is one particular kind of sort of what they would call non-traditional family structure, which I do agree absolutely seems to have a bad, detrimental impact. But even then, it's like, would you call it that non-traditional? And that is single parents. Mm-hmm. And then you touched on that idea. So before I even said the words, you talked about how it's often very detrimental because the most common case of like single parents is a single mother.
Yeah.
And quite a lot of the times because the father has run off and not left a number. And so and those circumstances, I absolutely agree. It's like the psychology seems to show it does not do children any favors. Mm-hmm. So there are two questions, I guess, which is, one is how much of you saying like, this male energy and female energy is to do with having people there at all, and how much of it is to do with the difference between a single parent and two parents.
Yeah. As I said, I think those are very interesting questions. You'll have to come back on the show again if you want to talk about it a bit more in depth, and you guys will have to come back and listen in. So listen out for that show, Daddy Issues. That is going to be something that's coming up there. And yeah, George may pop in and I may have to see what answers that I can come up with for those questions that he's just brought up. So yeah, hopefully you guys can come up with something as well. And before we shut down this show today, we can't leave without touching on Will and Jada, right? You guys know that I've mentioned this a couple of times, but because it's on social media at the moment, it's in the media at the moment, this is a perfect relationship to talk about when we're discussing open relationships, right? So George, are you aware of the Will Jada situation?
I am completely unaware of it.
You are completely unaware of it? All right, wow. Well, have you been under a rock? What's going on?
Well, I've just kind of been like in a politics world, and then in the weekend it was mostly spent like walking around town, painting Warhammer figurines. I drew like a little pictures, like I was listening to some lo-fi, doing some cleaning, like some stuff was happening.
I see. I usually think I'm the one living under a rock. People tell me stuff, but I do know about this Will Jada situation. So for those of you out there who do not know,
like me,
yes. So Will and Jada are married, right? They've been married for a long time. I think they're coming
What are their last names, by the way, just for reference?
Smith.
Oh, Will Smith. Okay.
Yeah, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith.
All right.
So they've been married for approximately, I think, maybe 23 years, somewhere in that region. And
oh, by the way, before you accuse me, yes, I know who Will Smith is.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know who his wife is as well? Do you know who she is?
I didn't, but
she was in. What has she been in? She was in the second Matrix. Have you seen Second Matrix?
I have. unfortunately.
You have. And so she was the black lady with the China.
Oh yeah,
box.
yes.
You remember?
Yeah, I remember.
That's Will
Okay,
Smith's
yeah.
wife.
All right, fair.
See, we made some progress there, guys. So they've been together for like 23 years, give or take, and different stuff has happened throughout that relationship. But what is concerning us at the moment is that basically Will and Jada, they separated, but they were still married. And during that time, Jada went and had what she terms an entanglement with someone else within the industry. His name's August Orsina, and he's a younger man to her. They had a relationship, had a little thing going on. Then her and Will started working things out, and they've gotten back together. And basically August came out and said, well, me and Jada had a thing when Will and Jada were separated. And I think people kind of did know about it from before, but this was from a few years ago, but what he's done, he's brought it back again
Yeah,
to the surface.
dredged up the old memories.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what everyone's been talking about. So then what Will and Jada did, they went onto the Red Table, because Jada does a show, the Red Table Talk, and it's all about honesty, openness. So they brought their own relationship to the table and had a very frank discussion about what had happened.
Yeah.
So
The most frank episode possible.
yeah, exactly. So as I said, I think this is a perfect couple to talk about when we're talking about open relationships. And the thing is, I'd heard previously as well, it's something that I kind of heard through the grapevine, that they had an open marriage or an open relationship anyway.
Oh,
But yeah,
that actually does change the way I was perceiving that story until this point.
yeah, and infidelity is not the first time it's come up in their relationship. Right now, it's on the part of Jada, but I believe it has come up on the part of Will before. So
I vaguely remember, zipping through headlines that did mention Will and Will Smith being unfaithful to his wife.
yes. So yeah, from what I've just kind of told you, what are your first thoughts on the situation?
Well, my first thought when you were describing it was, oh, that sounds like a classic case of, infidelity, of unfaithfulness. It's like, one partner runs off and has a relationship with someone else behind their husband's back in this case, and that's a bit rude, and a bit sort of, slimy and so on. But then when you mentioned that they had an open relationship, my mind kind of ticked in a different way. It's like, wait, so they have previously agreed then in some form that this is okay. No. And then the bigger issue now here isn't the fact that she did it, assuming that they still have that open relationship idea going, isn't, that she did it, but that she didn't tell him.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I've never fully heard it confirmed properly from Jada or Will that they did have an open marriage or open relationship, but it's something that's just come up a lot, like, kind of like rumors that they were in an open marriage, but it was just never confirmed by them. But it's something that's been kind of around their marriage. But where they are now, my initial thoughts were, one, I think it makes a big difference that Will and Jada are celebrities, but also because they were separated. I think if you were, if it was anyone else and they were separated from their partner or their husband, wife, and then they ended up getting into another relationship with someone else, it wouldn't be seen in the same way.
I was just about to ask, why not? Why does the fact that they're celebrities make a huge impact on this relationship?
It makes,
apart from the fact that it's public.
That's the main thing, that it's public, because now everyone's got their 2 cents, as we're talking about it today, on their relationship, when really and truly, the natural nature of relationships, or the inherent nature of relationships, is that they're usually private. They're usually something that's shared between two people or more than two people, as we're talking about today, but it's not usually shared with the whole world. And the fact that certain people are going to be perceiving, particularly Will in a particular way, because as they would see it, his woman went off and slept with someone else while she was married to him. I think that has a lot to do with it. I think public opinion in this situation has a lot to do with it.
I'm not really seeing what role it would play, though. It's just going to be, especially for a celebrity of that kind of, fame, like they're going to be used to just chatter all the time anyway. So all I'm seeing is like the mechanics of this is a fairly standard kind of case of infidelity within an open relationship. The only difference is, when they open up their Twitter feeds, there's 5,000 notifications instead of 4. And every once in a while they might get asked about it by reporters. I don't really see how, like, from their point of view, it's going to make, the basic facts of the relationship be that much different. I mean, I grant that, yes, sure, there'll be some realities will be different, like, they can't go to every restaurant, and, like, maybe, as I said, they'll get journalists asking them about it, but apart from that, I don't really see how that's changing this particular case that drastically.
Yeah.
And how it's changing everything.
I hear what you're saying. Is that your last thoughts on this topic?
Well, I would have quite liked to have heard your answer to that set of questions I asked before you moved on to Will Smith.
What, in terms of the daddy issues?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, bring them to me again. I'll give you quick answers, as I said, because that's the daddy issues is quite off topic, yeah. But I'll touch on it quickly. Give them to me again.
Those are my last thoughts.
Yeah, go on.
So basically, Kayla the last quarter, gave her thoughts to say that she believed that sort of children needed like a male energy and a female energy, like to kind of be raised as good people, if you will. And I questioned that on two fronts. One was the idea of like, where would be the evidence that, in particular, a homosexual sort of partnership, could do any worse in raising a child. Mm-hmm. The second is, how do you know that you're not confusing it with one particular, untraditional relationship, which is a single mother or single father, raising a child, which is a case where I do agree that the psychology suggests that there are adverse impacts.
I think I'm going to sum it up in both. Yeah. I'm just going to do them both together. In both situations, there's always going to be cases where the young person or the child grows up and they're an exception to maybe the normal rule you can see, or they grow up to be very healthy individuals. Of course, there's a child that can be with single mothers or even single fathers and end up to go on.
And in fact, the majority do. It's like,
really and truly, that is so true. And they go on to be successful and to have healthy relationships in their lives and to be healthy individuals in both cases. So whether it's the same-sex couple, male-female, or whether it's in a single-parent situation, a man or a woman. But the most ideal unit, and that is usually that's the one that's, as I said, propagated within our society, is that male-female unit. Of course, we all, in terms of biological, that's how the baby's made. It's made with the man and it's made with the woman. So obviously on that level as well, I think the man and the woman have a very specific role to play within that child's life. And of course, as I said, ideally, of course, we know there's other types of situations, adopted children and foster parents and things like that. And there's people within those situations who grow up to be exemplary within our society. But the ideal is that we would have the biological parents there to look after and nurture that child. So that's what I would say to that question, those questions. It's not that, of course, that there can't be situations where people grow up and do really well coming out of that situation. Most of us do. Most of us haven't had the most ideal childhood, and it doesn't even matter how good your childhood has been. There's still some kind of dysfunctionality within your own child. You could think of it as perfect, but there will be something that traumatized you. It might have been the time where you were having some emotional problem and you needed, some emotional support from a parent or a caregiver, and they just weren't able to give it to you at that time, or they didn't realize how deeply that would impact you, even though they were loving, beautiful parents. And for some reason, that's caused you to have emotional and mental scars within that area. So we all have dysfunctionality within ourselves and within our childhoods that we need to deal with, but of course you can overcome it. Anything is possible. So on that note, guys, you got a little bit of extra from us today, but we have ran a little bit over, and you're already getting us for another dose in the competitive podcast, which is going to be coming up shortly.
And make sure that you stock up on your anti-OD medication. I'm imagining, you have these those shots you get for when you OD on heroin, but instead of OD on heroin, it's ODing on George and Kayla.
Yeah, exactly.
Have them on standby.
Yeah, I might just OD on us as well. So I'm gonna go get my shot, and we'll be back in about give us about 5 minutes, guys. So don't go anywhere for too long. You got about just enough time to pop to the loo, get a cup of tea, and maybe even get yourself a biscuit. So I want to thank you guys for joining us on Soul Seed, the show which is dedicated to taking you to new levels of you. Do you want to say bye to the viewers or listeners?
No, I refuse to say goodbye. Wait, I just said goodbye.
So there you go, guys. That's George for you. As I said, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Monday. Have a brilliant week. I will be back with you again after this, and also on Sunday for a Facebook Live at 9 o'clock. So please join me then if you can. Much love and stay blessed.
Stay blessed, everybody. This is the Competitive Podcast. Yes, my name is George. Hi, everybody. How are you doing?
Yeah, we hope you guys are doing well. And hopefully you guys were able to join us before as well. We were just talking about a really interesting topic, open relationships. But now I'm about to beat George in the competitive podcast. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know about you guys.
I think they're probably looking forward to it. They look for a big, competitive podcasting beatdown.
Get ready for a scrap, guys.
Online, on the iOS and Android, on your mobile phones. Great speakers conversation around the globe. This is Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
Relax Radio.
So welcome back, guys.
Well, hello for a start. Just welcome to the beginning.
Yes.
to the competitive podcast.
Yes, welcome. I know that you guys have been, wanting us to come on, wanting us to do this podcast. So without further ado, I'll get straight into it. Who's going first today?
I'll go first, but purely because I will unfortunately have to be the bearer of bad news in the sense of Kayla's comment got more likes than mine, so she won the last episode.
I told you.
And to make the streak also not that great. I've got a pretty meager sort of series of offerings for this week, but I do have a couple, and I think that they could scrape me through to a victory.
Okay.
So I will start it off. My first achievement over the past fortnight over this has been to do with Fortnite, but in the very, very loosest sense of the fact that I've been, I've successfully been resisting probably one of the hardest times ever in terms of temptation to get back into video gaming.
Oh, okay.
Because basically there's been a series of sort of, if you will, stars aligning that, and I keep track of sort of the gaming news because I'm interested, and it's an art form which I'm curious about, and want to see how it progresses, and I'm always impressed at all the new heights it achieves.
Yeah.
There's been sort of basically a perfect kind of stars aligning to make me very, very sorely tempted to get, one or two games over the past couple of days. The first one was I found out about, the older one, I found out of the existence of a game called War of Rights, which is basically, imagine Battlefield, but it's in the American Civil War.
Okay.
And it's so much so, in fact, that when you join up in the game, the first thing it will ask you is, hey, by the way, do you want to be a Union soldier or a Confederate soldier? Oh, and when you are one of these soldiers, which regiment would you want to be in? Like, what rank do you want to? What particular uniform do you want to have?
Oh wow!
And then you actually join in the game. It's like,
wow, it's that deep, huh?
Yeah, and it's like really sort of massive, sort of like into the kind of realism of. It's like, oh yeah, we are in the American Civil War. We are, doing our line tactics, and we've got like our muskets that take, forever and a day to reload, and it's got like a mechanic to make it so that if you die, outside of the formation, it negatively impacts everybody, so anybody who wants to win, shouts at others to go like, hey, get in the line,
Oh wow.
Do the actual like tactics of the authentic American Civil War, so and so.
So you guys play online, right? So you can play with other people from around the world.
And it's all players, yeah.
Yeah, I see. And what's the other games?
In many ways, these have become a bit like Christmas past, present, future in like the ways they've been kind of tempting me.
Oh wow.
The present one has been the final installment of the Henry Stickmin series called Complete the Mission came out. Now, for those of you who unfortunately did not have the most optimal childhoods,
of course.
The Henry Stickmin series was a series of flash games that came out. I think the first one, which was Rob the Bank, came out in like 2006, 7, somewhere like that. The premise of it is that you control this character called Henry Stickmin, who is a stickman. Basically, on his various missions and adventures, and you select, like from a range of options, how to approach every scenario. But the thing about them is, of course, every time, even when you fail, every solution is incredibly funny.
Oh wow!
A couple of highlights, in my mind, of like various solutions or failures that you get is there's one mission, you have a scenario where you have to try and cross like the canteen of the enemy base that you're in. And one of the options you have is undercover. And so you press that, and it's undercover agent to be precise. You press undercover agent. What happens is then one of the guys in the canteen just stands up and goes, hey, over here, I'm undercover. And like the whole canteen goes dead quiet and looks at this guy as he's saying this. He's like, hey, I'm undercover. Oh, and then it's just like, and then it will give you like the text of like the fail going like, he'd been undercover for 3 years. What a waste.
Well, I can kind of see that. Kind of shouting out that you're undercover kind of blows me up. So that one doesn't surprise me there.
Another one, just of like the successes meanwhile, is in Steal the Diamond, one of the second installment. One that I always loved very much was in one of the routes you can go in is you basically blast through a wall and you find the first thing is like 2 guards standing in a room that's basically like the World War II modern warfare section of the museum. And there's various kind of like World War II weapons that you can try and use, and they will all fail except the model airplane, which you like fly over the guards, and they're like, hey, it's a plane. Like, look how cool it is. And it basically it crashes into one of them,
Yeah.
and his taser then stuns the other, and so they're both knocked out.
Wow.
It's like they're brilliant.
Oh wow.
They're absolutely brilliant. But complete the mission. It's like is the final installment, the ending, like the mother load of it. It's been several years,
And now it's down to.
and now it's out now, and it's there, like this gleaming jewel of going, hey George, remember when you were 14 and you were playing this series?
Oh wow.
This is the end of it.
Oh,
This is the
wow.
final edition, and it's like way bigger than all the other ones.
Well, to me, it's like having a packet of chocolates and you get down to the last one and then you drop it. It's like incomplete.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
If you don't get it, it's kind of going to be incomplete. So, in fact, so you spoke to me before when we was off air, guys. George told me before about some gaming news. So, you're still keeping up with the news, but you're not actually playing the games? Am I getting
Correct.
That right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's because I played them for a long time, and it's mostly because I'm just curious in terms of like the technology at this point.
Okay.
Because they're continuously evolving, they're continuously getting better,
Yeah.
and frankly, some of the stuff just around it, like the series, even like set in the games or made using the game engines, are just really funny. So I watch those.
Yeah. Okay.
Unfortunately, though, keeping up with the gaming news in particular has been quite detrimental now in the fact that the final release of another game, which actually was tracking for a little while, it has been announced. It's going to come out in September.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that looks pretty fun.
That's like 3 games.
Yeah, I did say
Yeah.
past, present, future. The future one is there's a series of pictures out there by I think his name was Bukowski, a Polish guy who has been for years doing this series of drawings, which are basically steampunk mechs. Basically giant robots, but they're like steampunk, and they're always set within backdrops of like, Poland in 1910 kinds of backdrops.
Okay.
The most iconic picture, like the one that everybody remembers, is one of like a girl wearing, like traditional Polish kind of clothing in like a field with sort of hay bales and, a pitchfork, that kind of thing. It looks like something from a scene that maybe Turner would have painted if he'd gone to Poland in his lifetime, that sort of thing.
Okay.
But then in the background are 2 giant robots, like looking like they were made in the 1920s too, like stomping across the earth, heading to some distant war zone.
Wow. Some
No,
distant
they're
lands, huh?
amazing sort of pictures.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of them.
So the graphics are very
Yeah.
good, huh?
And, well, what happened was a team of people saw that and went, this could be a really good video game. And not only could it be a really good video game, but it looks like it is a really good video game.
So I'm guessing that they made it into a video game.
Yeah, they made it into they're making it into a strategy video game. It's still not out yet.
Oh, okay.
But it is on pre-release
Okay.
now. And so now there's video content of people playing like these early versions. And yeah, sometimes there's bugs and there's problems, which always happens in these early releases. But man, I'm sold.
Oh wow.
But I have a principle to maintain.
All right.
And the fact that I've maintained this principle and not gone and gotten my own pre-release of this game, or gotten any of the other 2, I'm going to rank that as my achievement for this past 2 weeks.
Do you know,
I have been in the shadow, not in the valley of death, and I have stayed on the straight and narrow.
Oh wow.
I have stayed. I have maintained the principle. No more. Even though it's been incredibly tempting.
I think it's a good one about principles. Weren't we just talking about this, guys, right? We're talking about principles. It's not about the benefits sometimes. Sometimes you just got to stick with your morals and your standards. But then I'll come back and double check with you in maybe 2 weeks and then 2 weeks again. And we'll still see if it's holding up or if you found a way around the problem. And I would also say as well, so is not one of the games that you that you wanted to pre-order FIFA. That's for all my guys out there, for all my men them out there.
I can never get the hang of FIFA, actually,
Yeah.
as a game. I've played it plenty of times,
Yeah.
and I don't know, for some reason, like the whole logic behind just sports games in general,
Yeah.
they never mesh with me for some reason.
Really? What, like in game form? Or
Yeah, in game form, I just don't get it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like I understand, like, okay, like, you know, you control your player and you move like this, and you get like the, you know, the controls of like the ball goes to your character like that and
Yeah.
so on. But like, you know, it never kind of like fits together like a
Yeah.
jigsaw puzzle.
Okay.
So no, I've never actually been interested in sort of FIFA or NBA or any of these other sports games.
Okay. Okay. That's
So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, different strokes for different folks, right?
Yep.
And yeah, in fact, let's get some comments from some ladies out there. Possibly, are any of you gamers? Yeah, I'm gonna be learning, maybe doing some gaming soon. In fact, my experience with gaming, when I was younger, I did Street Fighter. You guys remember Street Fighter, right? So I did Street Fighter.
Yeah.
I did Mortal Kombat, and I did Sonic the Hedgehog. So,
You've got a good selection there.
yeah. And Mario.
Yeah, I've played Mario.
Yeah, so those are the ones that I used to do. Those are the games that I used to enjoy. But guys, we're in the studio today, so we are doing breaks, and we just got to the break right now. So don't go anywhere, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes.
All right, yeah, that sounds very good. Make sure though it's strictly 2 minutes, you know.
Strictly 2 minutes. We promise. See you soon.
আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us here 24 hours and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist, or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaksmedia.com. RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay. Relax Radio.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Relax Radio. My name is George Shaft, but joining me in the studio today is, of course, slight music problems, and also Kayla Rose.
Guys, I got a bit confused there. I thought I pressed the wrong button. I thought I was playing one of George's shows, and I was like, I looked to the side and I realized, no, he's just talking now. So.
I have a giant grin on my face right now.
So yeah, forgive me there. So yeah, so we're back to the second part. So it's my turn. So I think I've got some good ones this time round, and I'm gonna be cheeky and I'm gonna do like a double fold right now because these are the lesser ones.
All right.
So this one is I purchased a beautiful meditation psychedelic tapestry, which I have in my room at the moment, and it's about, if I try and get the dimensions and sizes in my head from what I can remember, I think it's about 60 inches, maybe something like 50, 60 inches by about 40 inches. So it's quite big, and it's just, it's so beautiful. And every time I look at it, I love it. And so every night I go to sleep with the Buddha over my head.
Oh.
Yeah.
Does the Buddha give you spiritual peace while you're sleeping?
Yeah.
Are you sleeping better now with the Buddha guiding, watching over you?
I feel that I am. I was gonna make some jokes about the things that the Buddha was giving me, but I'm just gonna stick with spiritual stuff. I think that's the safest way to go.
Hey, personally, that sounds way better than the jokes I was thinking, in terms of like the Buddha watches you sleep and he's having way too much fun doing so, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That could be creepy. You wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and you just see Buddha there just staring at you. He's
moved to the foot of the bed.
Yeah, exactly. That could be a bit of an awkward one. So yeah, guys, that's kind of like my semi-first one. And then my other one is, again, I have been living my best life, having those, going to those good parties, and this time round was no different. And this one was even better than the ones that I said before. You
said the last time was the best party ever. And so this one is apparently better than even that.
This one is better than the best one. That's how good it was. And this one was good particularly because obviously with, quarantine and all of that kind of stuff, lockdown, obviously we know that we was doing the whole social distancing thing, and we really didn't get a chance to see our friends, our family, our loved ones. And this particular event, I invited a lot of people who I haven't even seen for a little while, or things like that. So I had different groups of friends. Guys, you have friends in different cliques. Like,
yes,
all your friends are not from one social circle, one social group. So I basically brought people together from my different social circles and brought them into one place. And it was so lovely to be around them, to just be with them, have them there. We all had fun. I had some of my family there as well. And we just all had a really good time. There was some barbecue there, and there was some good food, good drink, good company. So it was a vibe.
All right.
It was a real vibe.
The first and most immediate question that has to be asked, and now I am going to judge your friendship group based off how you answer this.
Yeah.
Did they join forces to make fun of you during the party?
Oh, no.
What?
No, not to make fun of me. To show me lots of love. Yes, they did. They did join forces for that. But no, not to make fun of me.
I am disappointed.
Are you?
Yeah, it's like, isn't it a law somewhere that when friends, of one person from two wildly different, spheres of life join together, their one common talking point is the friend who's brought them together. And so they have to share, of course, all the embarrassing stories and all of the, the misdeeds, the mishaps, the funny comments, the funny stories that happened in those two separate worlds, to join forces and, really air it all out. And then the two can, be ambassadors back to those groups again and tell everyone about the embarrassing things you did in the other group.
Do you know what just came to my head?
It's like the fact that, isn't it a law that's the way it works?
I don't think there's a law on that particular point, but what just came to my head, and I'm going to say this from now, I'm caveating from now that this is not me, but also if you bring different groups of friends together, they start talking about what you've said about them, possibly to the other. So that's probably something to avoid. As I've already said, I didn't do this to my friends. My friends are really cool. So I could,
that is such a case of the karma though. It's if you're going to, the example I'm imagining is for maybe a teenager, it's like, oh, they go to Scouts and they trash talk their friends at school at Scouts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they go to school and they trash talk their Scouts. Like, at that point, it's just karma then.
Yeah.
When the two meet, they go, oh, by the way,
Yeah.
he trash talked a lot about you guys when, no.
I imagine it happening like, so you've been speaking about Tommy to Mike,
Yeah.
and then Mike and Tommy meet, and he said,
yeah.
and then just the reaction, oh, so you're Tommy, and then from there, that's where the conversation
Yeah, exactly.
starts.
And to get the more sort of accurate thing, Tommy from your drum lessons and Mike from the gym, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like the two meet together. It's like, oh wait, so you're that guy who's apparently really stinky and awful, and hates cats. What's that about?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, wait a minute, I don't hate cats.
Right. And
Well, that's just karma, really. At that point, like that's just, I have no sympathy for the middle friend, in that scenario. It's like, you did this.
I completely agree, and then
But-
he was also kind of silly letting them meet.
Yeah.
And now you have no friends.
Yeah.
Shame on you.
Exactly. That is a shame on you. But that is still different from like what I initially was saying, which is like more like Tom, to keep with the example, Tommy from the drum lessons and Mike from the gym meet up, and Mike from the gym goes, "Hey Tommy, did you know about that time when Kayla punched the punching bag off the wall?" And it's like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, it straight off the ceiling, it bounced off the wall, and then it hit Kayla straight in the face. It was so funny.
Oh, wow.
And then Tommy will be like, oh, so that's why she had that big mark on her nose. Oh, we called her red-nosed reindeer for 3 weeks. When she had it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, oh, really? Oh, we didn't give her a name for it. It's like, oh, that's hilarious. So we should all call her red-nosed reindeer. I'm talking about that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. We're just people just make fun of you. Sometimes it does happen. Sometimes I think making fun of people in weird ways is almost a form of endearment. I've had some friendships where we've been like that. Where we take the mick out of each other, or we joke around with each other, but it's really a sign of love and not any like bad mindness or negative intention.
Oh, naturally, of course.
Of course. So
apart from friends from different spheres of life meeting up, what made this party so much the best?
Well,
Though the friends part would by itself make it pretty cool.
Let's think about the things that made it. Well, besides all my friends and a lot of my friends and my family being there, it was quite a big event. I don't know if I'm allowed. I'm gonna caveat and say we did all social distance. But it was maybe like 200 people.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
That is quite the party.
Yes.
No, you're saying like, oh, we could bring all the friends together, and I was thinking, ballpark. Okay, maybe top 40 people's tops. Like that's what I had in mind. But no, 200. Jeez.
Yeah,
That's quite a large event.
Yeah, it was, and it obviously, we was all hoping. Oh, we've been enjoying that hot weather. I don't know about you lot, but I have been enjoying that hot weather. That is right up my street. So we was really hoping for the hot weather, for the party. But as it goes, it wasn't around. So it was a bit of a wet day. But it didn't actually make any difference besides the outfits that some of the ladies chose to wear. But they had like a, kind of a shelter up outside, a waterproof shelter. So people were still able to go outside. It wasn't freezing cold.
Yeah.
So there was a vibe going
on.
on.
I like the implication that you're basically friends with a ton of alpha chads who saw the rain and went, yeah, but I'm still going to wear my t-shirt.
Yeah,
I approve.
Exactly. The weather is not going to ruin my swag. So, yeah, it was one of those ones. And
it's like you will force me to wear a raincoat over my cold, dead, wet hands.
Something else that made the party good. I don't know if you guys know. Jollof rice. So there were, a lot of people from Nigeria there. I'm half Nigerian myself. And so that was some of the food that was there. And I haven't had some really good Nigerian food for a little bit of time. So I was happy to eat that. And so, yeah, there was some of the things.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah.
I've been curious about jollof rice for a while because
Really?
I've seen it
Yeah.
like around, but I've never gotten round to it.
Yeah.
What's it like?
It's a spicy flavored seasoned kind of rice. And so you said that you've seen it around, so I'm sure you know what it looks like and things.
Yeah,
like
so
that.
I've seen like lots of pictures and like people eating it and that sort of thing. But
yeah,
it's just, and it's one of those things where it's like, oh, at some point I will, but no.
you haven't got
It's
around
just
to it
like
yet.
the specific circumstances of like what the time always conspire to make it not be.
Yeah, completely. For those of you who may not be aware of what jollof rice is, it's an orange it's an orange rice, which is like a traditional African dish, mainly I believe Nigeria and Ghana, and I'm sure there's other countries as well that eat a lot of jollof rice. So it's quite popular.
Yeah, it's I have actually looked this up. It's basically virtually all of West Africa, particularly like along the sort of the Niger River kind of area, including Nigeria.
Yeah.
Like they each independently claim they invented jollof rice,
I'm gonna put that on the record. Nigerians created jollof rice. But if there was anyone Ghanaian, I know if there was anyone Ghanaian in this room right now, if any of my friends were listening, they're going to argue with me about that as soon as...
Not just the Ghanaians, though. It's like basically everyone from the region. Like the Malians are going to argue, the Nigerians are going to argue, like the Mauritanians will argue. It's like,
everyone,
it's like you've opened up a can of worms with that.
Yeah, that's going to be a big fight. So, yeah, guys, I think, those are my, semi 1-2... first accomplishment that I'm going to be giving to you guys. So would you think we should go on a break now and then come back with the other ones?
That sounds like a plan. Yeah.
Sounds like a plan. I totally agree. So guys, stay where you are and we will be back very, very soon.
Relax Radio. আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaksmedia.com. RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay. Relax Radio.
So hey guys, as Lil Wayne would say, we're back like the electric bill.
Well, I was thinking more like back as in like, Kayla Rose and George Shaft have coming in the studio to do the competitive podcast. Yeah. But I guess like the electric bill could also, count too.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody gotta pay that electric. So don't keep us in suspense. What's your second achievement?
I have a couple of things in mind, and I'm not sure which one to really sort of count. Because see, the problem is, like, the majority of the sort of achievements I have in mind are of the kind of basically I continued to do a thing sort of ones,
Okay.
which feel a bit like a cheat almost. Like,
I'd agree with you.
yeah, it's like, for example, one of the ones which came to mind when I was thinking about like what could have been.
I would say, in fact, so you've got two. Do you want to give me a do you want to talk about both of them, or do you want to give me a
Well, what I'm going to do is,
well,
see, the thing is, actually, I do have a way I'm going about this though.
Okay.
Is because I do have something that's a bit different from that, but all to its time.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, one of them, for example, was I had the thought of like, oh, why don't I talk about the fact that throughout the whole time I didn't miss one session on 750 words, and like I've kept writing. Not maybe as quickly as I would have liked, but I've kept writing and continued progress on my current novel. And I've continued progress, keeping the editor on their toes to go through like my first novel and all of that.
I have to play devil's advocate here. Didn't you tell me that there was one day that you missed and then you had to start over again?
That was in the last episode.
Okay.
I'm talking about since then.
Oh, okay. So since that day, now you've been
Yes.
consistent.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Another one which I had the thought of like, oh, could be, maybe it's like, does it really count? Was doing walking and exercise, but it's like, but I have talked about that,
Yeah.
extensively before,
Yeah.
and in London, I'm not doing like these giant cycle feats
Okay.
that I could have talked about.
Yeah.
But there is one thing which kind of is an achievement, but
Okay.
the credit really goes mostly due to someone else for this.
Yeah.
Basically, on Wednesday last week, I basically woke up in the morning
Yeah.
with almost like a vision from God, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. God
Of
does
like-
that sometimes.
Of like a scene with, basically like a picture within the universe of the novel I'm writing. Well, it wasn't in the morning, it was more like the evening before. Like on Tuesday night, I was listening to like some really kind of appropriate sort of ambient music, like background.
Mm-hmm.
And like even right from the first note of it, like I'd gotten a really strong sense of like that universe, and like
Yeah.
I'm within, and best of all, like within the country and area it's set in within that universe too.
Yeah.
And so like I get like a really strong sense of like I'm walking around in that area, and I'm a person in there. But then I got like this really, really powerful image
Yeah.
of like something to do in that universe, and it's a pretty like inherently cool sort of image.
Yeah.
So if they're talented artists, I want to see as many sort of renditions of it as possible. If you don't mind me like reciting what it would be, should I?
Yeah. Do some
Alright.
titles.
Alright, so I'll go for it. So basically, here's the picture. You're on like a hill, and in the foreground of the hill, there is a stone pile shrine, like you get in Tibet or in Nepal, like high in the mountains. You get these stone piles. There's a little shrine built into it. A little candle illuminating a figure in there. You've got this stone pile, and it's got like those prayer flags that you get in like India and Nepal. But one of them, the one to the right, is actually detached from the ground, and it's fluttering wildly in some strong wind. And so it's this prayer flag chain attached to a stone pile, just fluttering wildly in the wind. And it has obviously been so for some time, because the flags are a bit tattered and have holes in them and so on. The background, meanwhile, it's at night, or it's like within a twilight, it's quite dark. But like you can see in the background quite clearly, it's maybe like a full moon night, where you have the mountains, and they're snow-capped, but also the snow goes all the way down into the valleys. Like it's the whole story is set within like a country within the Arctic Circle. The snow goes all the way down into the valleys.
Oh wow.
And then the skies, it's got stars, it's got some clouds, it's also got some aurora borealis going on, and like funky greens and reds and so on. Until you get to like the center right of the map, picture with this image. And that's a sheer drop. And it goes, straight from like the mountain, straight to the sea, like way, way, way below.
Oh wow.
And then the whole right side is actually just like the sea far below. And that's basically like the set. That's like a super like not only something that would be within the universe of like what the place I'm writing, but then also very much in like the spirit of that place. It's like very kind of mystical, very kind of religious. You've got like the whole kind of wonder of like, oh, there's religion, and there's obviously the ways of going about it, but then there's also the symbolism of like, but all is not right because the prayer flags aren't attached and they're fluttering around wildly. Who's maintaining this? No one. It's like no one is. Nobody cares anymore. It's like all within like this amazing kind of virtually impossible geographic thing. Now it could have just been a vision, but fortunately I had to go and do a show here at the do my breakfast buffet, which you can listen to in the mornings on Relaks Radio.
Do that.
And I spoke to like one of the other people here, Harry, very great guy, and he was immediately like busted out like his pencils, his little notebook, pulled out his computer, like, right, let's try and make this a reality. And basically spent all day in the basement, kind of hashing it out, and like having him sort of draw sketches to try and get the picture, the images. I'd drawn like a quick like 10-second sketch of the vision, like in a notebook, and I showed it to him, and Harry promised to make it a reality and make something amazing out of it. So I am stunned and very, very happy to see that happen.
Technically Harry does a lot. And in fact, that was something I wanted to mention to you guys as well. So not only are we live streaming on Facebook, but now, thanks to Harry, we are also live streaming on YouTube, Twitter, and what's the other one? Is it
Twitch?
Twitch?
Yeah.
I ain't never heard of Twitch before, but...
You'd never heard of Twitch before?
No, I'm not up on social
This is how you know
like
Kayla is not a gamer.
Yeah, I'm not up on Twitch yet. Trust me, I be hearing some apps that they're telling me to download for certain things, and I'm like, no, I ain't never heard of that before in my life.
But hello people of Twitch.
Yeah, okay.
Also people of Periscope, but that's really Twitter. It's like,
yes, I hear you.
All of you are welcome to Relaks Radio.
All of you are welcome, as we said, the beautiful and the ones that may not call themselves beautiful as well.
Bringing that up, though, that does something make me realise something. That's going to add a complication, though, to the way we do our show.
What is?
Because what happened, the way we did it at the moment was we post a comment each on the Facebook, and whichever had the most upvotes would be the winner. Mm-hmm. But if we're on multiple different platforms, of all the different kind of areas, we're bound to end up with ties where it's like, oh, the good people of Twitch think that George is the winner, but the fabulous people of Facebook all think that Kayla's the winner.
I can see that being an issue. Yeah. I think the simple way to deal with it is that we just stick with Facebook. I
think there is a brute like logic to that. I have to admit.
Yeah, I think for consistency purposes.
Yeah.
But guys, well, we're on for you guys as well. So maybe leave us some comments and maybe give us some suggestions if you think that we should do the way we are doing our voting system any differently. We'd love to hear from you. That's what we want to do when it interacts with you guys. So I'm going to get... Have you finished your one? Because I'm about to get onto my second one.
The only thing I have to add to that, in terms of like this week is generally like this past couple of weeks, I actually did have something planned that was like a really major kind of thing. But it's like I was going to actually travel out and stay with a friend of mine for a night. But then that didn't happen because of circumstances.
Yeah.
And so I come here going like, oh, I could have the coolest story. I could have 100% won, but no. Now I'll only have to win by 50%.
Okay. Well, hopefully your social meeting's just postponed, and it doesn't mean that it's not happening at all. So when it does happen, please do let us know. So guys, for my final one today, which I'm actually really looking forward to mentioning. So there was another hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, which I had to do. And why am I really proud of this hearing? One, because it was a higher level of judge. So yeah, it was a higher level of judge. He gave me a really hard time, and then I won the case. And it just reminded me of why I, chose to go into this field originally. So I was really happy with it. In fact, even though he gave me a hard time, I think secretly that he was also happy that I stood my ground and that I stood up for myself and my clients.
So what was the case? No, I know that you.
Yeah,
there's going to be limits, but like what?
Yeah,
what can you divulge about the case? Like, what makes it so special?
It was a straightforward, technically, a road traffic accident. What made it different is that the claimant was a protected party, so they had a disability. So that was what made the complication.
Okay.
In the case, yeah.
So basically, the case was somebody with a disability was driving, and then
No, they were passenger, but they were hurt.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've got my and you're doing the case on behalf of this disabled passenger.
Yes.
All right, fair. All right, now I've got the thing going.
Yeah.
All right, I can see why you'd be very happy to win such a case.
Yes, I was happy about it, and so yeah, that was my two / kind of three.
No, it's incredible.
Thank you so much. So that's why I think I'm gonna beat George this time round, and I'm sure you guys agree with me too. I have no argument except just vote for me anyway. Okay, guys. Well, thank you for joining us for our competitive podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed George being with me previously on Soul Seed, and hopefully you guys have also enjoyed this show that we've been doing together as well.
I hope so too, very much.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of someone going in there going, oh yeah, that George guy was really good, but Kayla, she just never wins the competitive podcast. How can this be?
I can't see that happening. I can't see it happening, right? But guys, yeah. So as I said, we've already wished you a great rest of your week. We wish you a great rest of your Monday as well. I am gonna go I feel like George has already had some tea, but
I've not had it. It's sitting on a table.
So then that means
forlorn.
The tea is cold. The tea is cold. He's going to make more tea.
I am fine drinking cold tea.
Yeah? You're fine?
In fact, this morning I did a whole section on tea snobbery and why I'm not a fan of it. Listen,
oh, wow.
And you can listen to it on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch.
Do you know what?
Listen.
I actually find that kind of interesting. Tea snobbery. I've known some people who've had tea snobbery before.
Yeah.
I have water snobbery. I'll confess to you guys. All I drink is bottled. I don't do tap. But that's a conversation.
That is very much for another time.
All right then, guys. Well, yeah, we're gonna leave you. I'm gonna go get myself a tea as well. I'm feeling green tea, maybe something like that at the moment. So I haven't got anything else left to say. Do you, George?
Sayonara. Have a wonderful time. Goodbye. Auf Wiedersehen. Tschüss. Au revoir.
Yes.
Ciao.
Yeah. In every single language, all over the world. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. We appreciate your viewership. And please get interactive with us. Leave us some comments and vote for me. So there you go. That was the competitive podcast. And we will see you again next time. Bye.